Hi, my name is Michael Newcomer, and today we're going to be discussing some records. I graduated at MI in 2009, 15 years of experience. We have an extensive knowledge of music is what I'm trying to say, and we have experience in it. This is my record collection, and I have close to 1,000 records. I'm going to highlight some of my favorite records. Right now, I like The Strokes. The Strokes, this is it. This is a great record. The Stooges Funhouse, or is it this way? Led Zeppelin 3. Very hard to find this record with the wheel intact. I actually have 2 copies, and I can see it right here. Paid nothing for both of them. Pretty awesome. These records are quite. I think these records are about $200-300. If you can find a reprise record, when you find reprise records, there's a little the sticker on here in the center. When it's one solid color, that means it's an original print. When it's 2 solid colors, that means it's the second issue. When it's 3, that means it's the third issue. This is a solid Jimi Hendrix print. But this one, Midnight Lightning, is my favorite record by him. I have something very special, a James Brown original. I have a couple James Brown originals. This is actually the way it came out when the LP first came out. It actually said 2 million seller. I'm not sure if he meant in total songs that he sold, or this record and it was a re-release, but this is a very, very old record. Today we're gonna be talking about funk. I really like funk, who doesn't? So the first record I'd like to talk about is Rick James's Throwing Down. This record, from the awesome cover art to the production value on here, it is great. From Dance With Me to My Love, She Blew My Mind 69 Times. This is a great record. The cover art is amazing. Hard to Get is my favorite track on here. There's lots of horns and lots of instrumentals on here. It's like the instrumentation on here is extremely out of this world. Rick James produced it. He arranged this. It was produced, written, and arranged by Rick James. I suggest giving it a listen to. James Brown's Mother's Nature. This is a great record. If you're not into James Brown, seriously get into him. Put this record on and regret not getting into him earlier. Amazing instrumentation on here. Very well produced. Give Me Some Skin is the first track on this record, and it pops right off the bat. Arranged by James Brown, produced by James Brown, engineered by Bruce Albertine. All of his records are great. I'm a huge James Brown fan. I really enjoy his records. He's the godfather of soul, the hardest working man in show business, and he kicks ass. So just give him a listen to. And finally, I'd like to talk about Red Hot Chili Peppers' Freaky Styley. This record is awesome. Catholic Schoolgirls Rule is on here. Jungle Man, Freaky Styley. All these songs are really great. Chili Peppers is a great funk band. People forget that they're a funk band, but they are. And it was produced by George Clinton. Thanks again, Mo, for buying me this record in high school. I held on to it, and it is great. Pick it up. A little background about my Rolling Stone collection. I was on the look for a collection of Rolling Stones, and I actually found somebody who was selling his entire Rolling Stones collection. He started collecting when the Rolling Stones came out. He was an old gentleman, and he needed some cash at the time. I've been buying and selling records for quite a while, so I like to justify my purchases by selling other records. But I bought this collection, and it has all the records, all the Rolling Stone records from when they came out, original prints, 12 by, some of them have a plastic on them still. This one's a Decca, you know it's original when it's a Decca Let It Bleed. This is very rare, not many people own this record, and it's actually a Decca recording, but it's a compilation record, a limited edition collector's item. This came out 1968. This record is quite old. Oh, this one's cool. I actually have the hologram. Satanic Majestic Request. This is the sequel to Hot Rocks. A lot of people own Hot Rocks. Hot Rocks is this record, and then they came out with a sequel to it, which is actually even better. It has songs that are not really that as popular as the top singles. I have Some Girls with all the celebrities' faces still in there. When this record came out, Lucille Ball had a fit because her face was on the cover. Andy Warhol created this cover, and I have the one with all the faces in it. I had one sealed, but some kid was like, I'm punk rock about this record collection. So I sell records, sometimes for not what they're worth, but I'll sell it to a kid just because They're cool. I sold this kid a sealed copy of this because he promised me he was gonna open it and listen to it. Access Bold as Love, an original copy. Let me see if this is an original. No, this is the third. This is the third issue. This one's cool. Of course, a lot of people have this record, but it's very hard to find this record with both posters and stickers inside. I guess what I'm saying is that I think my record collection will qualify me as somebody who knows about music. Sometimes you get records and you have to sell them when they're hot, because I have 2 copies of this record, and at one time it was worth $500 and now it's only worth $100 because they reprinted it. I have 2 copies of this. The Wall, original artwork and cover work. Pink Floyd Animals with the pink vinyl, printed in 1977. This record's pretty old. So I don't have my record collection organized because I tried to organize them and then I didn't know what to listen to. When I try to pick in my brain of what I want to listen to, my taste had already changed by the time I find the record. So what I do is I actually just keep all my records just compiled random as fuck, because I just go through it and I just pick whatever record I see that's cool at the moment, that I feel like would be a good listen to. Are We Not Men by Devo? This is a great record. This record's great. My brother bought this record before he died. He went to see the Go-Go's and he went to Amoeba Records and actually purchased it. The receipt's still there from when he bought it. This is actually a really cool record to listen to, especially if you like early AFI, because it kind of sounds like early AFI, or early AFI kind of ripped them off a little bit. One time I saw Davey Havok and I told him that and he wasn't too happy. This record sounds great on vinyl. I don't think it came out originally on vinyl, I'm not sure, but they reissued it on vinyl and it sounds incredible. The low end and the high end, and just it cranks. This record too, fantastic on vinyl. The 808s and the plastic drums and all that cool shit that makes the Beastie Boys awesome in the early days. This record is fantastic on vinyl. I would suggest Kill 'Em All. Kill 'Em All is their first album and it is their best album. I've been obsessed with this record lately. It's David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. This is an original copy too. Yeah, printed in 1972. That's crazy, huh? I find a lot of these records by people who had passed away. I used to look on, I'm kind of warped to say, warped mind, but I used to look at the obituaries. I used to look at the obituaries on online and stuff and see who passed away and see if they had like any like music, they were like into music, and would see if they had records. And it actually paid off a few times. Oh, Led Zeppelin 4, great record on vinyl. Rage Against the Machine on vinyl sounds incredible. The thing about vinyl is the low end. I'm gonna tell you guys something about vinyl. Vinyl and analog sound. Analog sound, if you were to think about it as an analog picture, when you used to have actual film negatives to take pictures before it was digital, if you were to hold up a picture of the sun, it would actually produce light. The film negative would actually produce a certain amount of light to it. Digital pictures do too, but not as well. So if you think about it as the same, when you take a digital photograph of sound compared to an analog photograph of sound, it's way different. You lose something. You lose a little bit of soul to it. That's why I'm obsessed with records. Oh, my love. My love. The saddest news I've heard in a long time was that Ozzy Osbourne just died. What to say about it, except for I was completely heartbroken. I love Ozzy. I can't think of anybody else I would consider my hero except for Ozzy Osbourne. I'm not actually trying not to cry because I really, really, really loved Ozzy Osbourne. I met him at Amoeba Records and he was so nice. I never got to see him perform though. It was a huge shocker for me. I was actually going to go see him play in Birmingham, and then I got this job, so I wasn't able to go. Man, I wish I was able to go. Same thing happened to me with James Brown. I didn't get to see James Brown. I was going to go see James Brown. Something happened, and I was like, well, I'm going to go see him in LA, and then he died. It was like... So I watched his documentary, just so people know about him. He was born in Birmingham, England. Very cool dude. Didn't come from money. Very creative, funny, brilliant guy. Amazing frontman. Probably the best frontman you can think of. To me, he was the best. He was the greatest. Let's talk a little bit about their music, Ozzy Osbourne's music. I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. Huge Black Sabbath fan. If you're uneducated about Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne,
really pick up this first record. This says it all. I mean, like, it's amazing. It's their self-titled. It's just called Black Sabbath. Wait a second.
This record should be in a museum. This is an actual Chess LP Chuck Berry record. I don't think this record even says when it was printed because it was an original. No, it doesn't. This is an original. Johnny Cash live in San Quentin and Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. Great records. REO Speedwagon is actually a very fun record. This record, High Fidelity, is actually a very fun record. It has sentimental meaning to it. My dad and my mom kind of met over this record, and that's why I kind of own it, but it's a great record too. This is a pretty cool record, Boys Don't Cry by The Cure. This is the original one that actually had Killing an Arab on it. If you can find this record, buy it. It's called Hooker and Heat. Canned Heat is an amazing blues rock band from the 60s. They had a really corny song that was on the Woodstock soundtrack that everybody knows them for, but nobody knows what they actually sound like because it's one of those bands that their hit song sounds nothing like the rest of their catalog. Yeah, John Lee Hooker and Canned Heat. They just collaborated on this record. They just kind of hung out and recorded and see what happens, and it sounds incredible. Parliament, great record. Now, if you can find this record, it's easy to find this record, but this copy is hard to find because Michael Jackson got really upset when the record came out because he worked just as hard as Quincy Jones did as producer. So when the record came out, it says produced by Quincy Jones for Quincy Jones. What an ego, right? Well, Michael Jackson worked just as hard on it, so now it says produced by Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones for Quincy Jones. This is an original. Oh, this is one of my favorite records. AC/DC Jailbreak. AC/DC Jailbreak. This is a great record, especially if you like AC/DC. This is I think this is their first EP. It's not a full-length album, but it is rocking. And then AC/DC, If You Want Blood, great live album. Of course, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I own most of the Black Sabbath records.
I don't want to sit here and regurgitate facts. That just seems pointless. Ozzy Osbourne dying on July 22nd was just very sad, but that's a part of life. And we have to move on. But it's very difficult because he was the greatest. Well, let's listen to some of his records. Like, seriously, put some of them on. Black Sabbath, you can start with Black Sabbath 1. Black Sabbath, the self-titled. I got this record from Victor. I think it was his dad's, and he was like just chucking a bunch of records off his balcony for fun. And I was like, "Can I have this?" And he was, "You better take it, or I'm gonna chuck it off the balcony." So I took it, and he let me have it. So thanks, Victor's dad. This is an original too. This is hilarious. I have had this forever. This record is brilliant. The vocals, Ozzy's deliverance, and Tony Iommi and the whole band, they did a wonderful job on this album, and they recorded it for barely any money, and they were able to do it pretty damn quickly, and it is quite possibly one of the greatest. It is one of the greatest records ever made. That's why Black Sabbath and Ozzy are inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Very dark, emotional, very real. That's the one thing about Ozzy is Ozzy's always 100%, and when he gives a performance, it's always 100%, and that's you can hear in this record. It is the blueprint of what is metal today. Without them, there would be no metal. Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, they invented metal. I can't think of another band before Black Sabbath that was metal. I want to hear some comments about this. If you guys don't think that Ozzy and Black Sabbath created metal, then who did create metal? Because I want to know. Because in my opinion, I think Black Sabbath and Ozzy did. Their first 4 records were probably their best. Black Sabbath Paranoid, Black Sabbath Masters of Reality, and Black Sabbath Volume 4. The second record, I actually got the second record tattooed on my arm because I love this record so much. I love Ozzy so much. And I did that like a month before Ozzy died, which is really weird. This record is fantastic. And also, don't skip any of these tracks. These tracks are fantastic. Every single one of them. I mean, they're flawless. Fairies Wear Boots is my favorite song on this record, and it's the last song. But do not skip it to the last song. Wait, just play this whole album. I really need to take better care of my records. Black Sabbath, Masters of Reality. Of the first four, probably my least favorite. I can't, why would I say my least favorite? Like, they're all great. I mean, like, Black Sabbath, yeah, Sweet Leaf. I mean, just the way it starts, it is fantastic. You're right, Eddie, it is fantastic. You can tell somebody's smoking some pot and he just starts coughing crazy. Oh man, Children of the Grave, Lord of This World. That is probably my favorite song on this record is Lord of This World. I just listened to this record the other day and I was like, Lord of This World is my favorite song on this record. And then you gotta listen to Volume 4. Volume 4 was like probably the last record that they were able to do before Ozzy started really getting into drugs heavy. But they still made fantastic records after that. Ozzy also went on to do his solo career. I believe this is his first record with his solo career. And listen to Diary of a Madman. Or start off with there and listen to some of Ozzy's classic records that he did on his solo career because Black Sabbath kicked him out of the band for doing too much drugs and partying too hard. Black Sabbath had enough and they said you have to go, and then they brought in Ronnie James Dio. Yeah, Ronnie James Dio. They brought in Ronnie James Dio to do lead vocals on Black Sabbath for a while until Ozzy came back again. Yeah, listen to these records. They're great. That's all I have to say, really.
Andy Warhol's The Velvet Underground and Nico. After the Gold Rush by Neil Young. American Summer by the Beach Boys, amazing compilation. The Beastie Boys, Ill Communications. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. Diana Ross and the Supremes' Greatest Hits. The Misfits' Static Age. The Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. Press the Eject and Give You the Tape by Bauhaus. Lou Reed's Transformers. Transformers. I said Transformers like it's the fucking movie. Such a dork.
Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. It's got a backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use it. It's gotta be rock and roll music. If you wanna dance with me. If you wanna dance with me.
Let's ruin our lives.